Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something that's super important in the SAP world, locking down your system connections. Now, I know it can seem a little complicated, but trust me, by the end of this, you're going to have a really clear picture of how to handle SSL certificates and the key tools that make it all work. All right, let's get into it. So you've seen this a million times, right? That little padlock icon up in your browser's address bar. We all see it and we just kind of trust it. But have you ever stopped to wonder what it really means? It's the end result of a whole process that proves your connection is secure, it's private, and it's trusted. It's the little green light saying, you're safe here.
And believe me, the difference is night and day. Over on the left, you have plain old HTTP. Think of that like sending a postcard. Seriously, anyone who gets their hands on it along the way can read the entire message. But on the right, you've got HTTPS. That S stands for secure, and it changes everything. This is like sending your message in a locked steel box. It's encrypted, it's trusted, and it's all thanks to a digital certificate. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to talk about the risks. What happens when you're insecure? Then we'll introduce the hero of our story, the digital certificate. From there, we'll pop the hood and look inside SAP's command center for all this, then take a quick tour of the different types of certificates you'll find. And finally, we'll talk about the other half of the security puzzle, making sure your secrets are stored safely. Okay, first things first, let's really understand the stakes here. Why do we even need to bother with all of this? Well, it's because a plain, unsecured connection is just a massive, blinking liability. Let's be super clear about this. An unsecured HTTP connection is just not trusted, period. It's like leaving the front door of your house wide open with a sign that says, "Come on in," for any attacker who happens to be passing by. To build trust, you absolutely have to lock that door.
And that brings us perfectly to the solution. If the problem is a lack of trust, the answer is to prove who you are with a verified identity. And the best way to think about SSL certificates, they are literally the digital passport for your system.
So, what is an SSL certificate when you get right down to it? Well, it really is just like a digital ID card. It uses some fancy math, cryptography, to prove to the world that your server is exactly who it claims to be, and not some sneaky imposter. Once that identity is confirmed, bam, a secure and encrypted channel is opened up for communication. Okay, so if the certificate is a passport, who actually issues it? You can't just print one yourself, right? Of course not. That's where a certificate authority, or a CA, comes in. These are globally trusted organizations. You've probably heard of them, like GoDaddy or DigiCert. They are the official passport office of the internet. You prove your identity to them, and they issue you a certificate that everyone else in the world will recognize and trust. Now for a term that's very specific to SAP, the PSE. It stands for Personal Security Environment. But don't let the name intimidate you. In the simplest terms, it's the secure container. Think of it as a digital safe or a wallet, where SAP keeps these precious certificates and their private keys. It is the vault that holds your system's identity. All right, so we've got the concepts down. We know what a certificate is, who issues it, and where it's stored. But where do you actually, do all this stuff inside an SAP system? Let's meet the main tool for the job. This right here, this is the transaction code you need to know. STRUSTSSO2. This is the Trust Manager. It is the one-stop shop, the central command center where you will manage, renew, and maintain all of your system's digital passports. The process for getting a new certificate is actually a pretty straightforward three-step dance. First, inside your system, you create something called a Certificate Signing Request, or a CSR. Second, you send that request file over to your certificate authority. And finally, they'll send you back a signed certificate, which you simply import back into your system. And that's it. Now, that first big step, creating the CSR, it generates this big block of text. It might look like a bunch of random characters, but this is your formal application. This contains all the information that the certificate authority needs to verify who you are. You're basically asking this trusted organization to vouch for you. Now, once you get inside STRUSTSSO2, you might be thinking, okay, great, one certificate to manage. But not quite. You'll actually see several different types, or PSEs, and each one has a very specific and important job to do. So let's quickly run through the main players. The SSL Server Standard, that's the one for the padlock in your browser. It secures connections coming into your system. The System PSE is all about trust between your own SAP systems, which is what makes things like single sign-on possible.
Then you have the SSL client standard, which is for when your SAP system needs to connect to another SAP system. And finally, SSL client anonymous is for connecting out to trusted third-party systems like a bank. See, each one has its own unique role. Okay, so we've secured the communication channel. The phone line between systems is now locked down and private. But what about the really sensitive info that's being sent over that line? Things like passwords for other systems? Well, that needs a whole different layer of protection. And for that, we turn to SECSTORE. This is another absolutely critical transaction. While STRSSO2 is all about managing the identity of your connections, SECSTORE is about managing the encrypted storage of secrets inside the database itself. So what's SECSTORE's job? Well, think of it as the ultimate encrypted vault for any sensitive data your applications need. It locks down things like passwords and connection details so that nobody, not unauthorized people, not even other programs, can get to them. That data stays scrambled and is only decrypted at the very last second when a legitimate application needs it. When you run a health check on your SECSTORE, you'll see entries with different statuses. Green, you're golden. Everything is active and working just as it should. Yellow is a warning, kind of a heads up. But red? Red means there's a problem. You often see this after something like a system restore, where the old encryption keys no longer work. Your goal is always to get everything back to green. And this brings us to the final and maybe the most critical question. You can have that green padlock on all your connections. Your system's identity can be trusted by the whole world. But if the secrets inside your system aren't just as protected, you're only halfway there. So here's the ultimate takeaway. Real, comprehensive SAP security isn't just one thing. It's a two-part story. It's about securing that digital handshake between systems using certificates in STRUST SSO2, and it's about protecting the secrets they share with the encrypted vaults of SECSTORE. You have to master both to build a truly secure SAP landscape.